Don't ask me what time it is. I don't know. I don't care. I only care about my Father's time. My Father is God. I'm the unknown prophet of God, if you like it or not. Or don't believe it or not. When God did come, I was also in disbelief. So yeah. It's the same thing like you. What you think right now about me. I did think this about myself, so yeah. But I want to talk about Bruce Lee. My opinion, who he really did die. He did ask too much of his body. He did train too much, and that was the fatal strike for him. He did go too far. This is how he really did die. But there is something else, folks. The day God did touch me, I learned about the Illuminati. I learned about the way of darkness. So now I do have a different opinion. I think he was murdered, folks. That's what I think now. But in the days he did die, I was 10 years old, because I'm born in 1963, and he did die in 1973, 10 years later. In that time, the only thing I could do is cry, because I did like Bruce Lee a lot. And when I did become older, I saw all his movies and the way he did train his body and all that kind of things. He also did use electric shocks to give him more power and all that kind of things. So he did ask too much of his body. This is how the brain thing did come, and he did just ask too much of his body. That's why Bruce Lee did that. And then with his movies, in the beginning it did not work. But it's for real, folks, it did not work. Also his head was like exploding, and yeah, training and movie making and all that kind of things. And he was a good actor, and yeah, he was learning a lot of things. Also, this also did work in his head, and yeah, it did create something terrible, but did kill him. In his head. And that's the real way Bruce Lee did die. He did ask too much. He did go too far. And this is what did kill him. He did kill himself. But when I did hear about the Illuminati and all that kind of things, I did not know that it even exists. But many people did die by the Illuminati. They are eliminated, you know, and now I think that Bruce Lee also belongs to that. That he was poisoned or that's what I think now. But I started to think like this when God did touch me for the first time, you know, and that is 7.5 years ago. And then I started to think like that, because I saw a lot of people die by the hands of the Illuminati, Skull and Bones, and all these dark figures. And Bruce Lee was a star, you know, and I saw many stars who did die by the hands of the Illuminati. And Bruce Lee is nothing else than a star. So he also did die by the Illuminati. I think he did not want to go into the Illuminati. He don't want to be part of it. Because in that time, he did go with people who are deeply in this cult situation, like witchcraft and all that kind of bullshit, you know. He did go with that kind of people. And I think that's why now I think he is killed. But he also did ask far too much about his body, you know. And he was a good student on school also. He was very clever. He was not only strong and fast, he was also in his mind, he was very clear in his mind. And yeah. But this is what I think now, you know. Illuminati got something to do with it. And the boy was eliminated. That's what I think now. But I'm not sure, you know. But my first opinion was he did kill himself. He did train much too long and did ask a lot of his body. Also with electric shocks and all that kind of things. He did train with machines, folks. You don't want to train with, you know. And yeah, who did created these machines? I don't know. Maybe he did do it himself. I don't know. This is what I don't know. But he did train in very ugly ways for himself, you know, to become more fast than the shock what comes out of this thing. He did hit in that thing, but if you hit very fast, then this shock, yeah, you will not feel it, because he is more fast than a shock, you know, like lightning what struck on you or something, you know. He was fast like lightning, and I know this was also the way he did train. Many people do not know, but he did train with things what give him shocks, and these shocks 220, folks. You know, he was a crazy. He did have a crazy training system, you know, and yeah, he did ask too much, and that's how he really did die. But when God did touch me, I started to think different. Then I did hear for the first time about the Illuminati and all that kind of skull and bones, Rothschild and all that kind of, you know, things. What is happening in the world. And these people are still very rich and very big, and they do have everything to say. And they choose any precedent in the world, you understand? Because these are the most richest people in the world. And these people do have everything to say and everything to choose, you know. These are really the masters you need to watch out for. And yeah, Bruce Lee was under it, that's for sure. Because all the stars are under these guys, you understand? So, yeah. So now I think this way. But before this, I know what the training of Bruce Lee was. He was a mad, he did have a mad training system. Not many people know. But he did train himself with shocks. And these shocks are 220. And maybe he was standing in water also, I don't know. Because the man was really crazy about this sport he did do. Kung Fu, Jeet Kune Do. So the man did kill himself. That was the first thing. But now, I don't know it anymore, folks. I don't know it anymore, you know. And God never told me that Bruce Lee did die by the Illuminati. But that's what I think now. I think he was poisoned and never did stand up again. I still think now that the Illuminati is behind it. Because the Illuminati here in this world right now is behind everything what's going on. And I'm very sure, folks, this I'm very sure of, that Bruce Lee did die by these guys. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But many people did die by the Illuminati people, and the Skull and Bones people, and the Rothschild people, and all that kind of groups you do have. I did not mention. They are all one family, and yeah, they try to conquer this world, and this is what you're seeing starting to happen. They will send a man with a suitcase of money, and the next time it's standing for my door, I don't know. But there are in this world some very bad guys, and they do walk with money, and this money you can get if you do things for it. But these are bad things, like murder and accidents that will go into the Pandora box, I call it the Pandora box so that no one will know what go in it, and it never will come out of it. But when God comes, the Pandora box go open, and everything come out. Everything will come out. So, one time, it will go open. And I call this the Pandora box, because many bad things are in that box. That's why I call it like that. And it's really the truth, folks. But this about Bruce Lee. I think he did train this much that he did kill himself. It's very possible. If you ask too much from your body, things must go wrong, folks. You will end up in the hospital, or you will drop down, and how strong you ever will be, you also need your rest right on time. And Bruce Lee was really a guy who never did rest. He was restless. And this is what did make him also fearless. And that's why he did really die. So I do have two opinions now, because God did come, but God never told me how Bruce Lee did die. Maybe God will come and will tell me, because is it an important thing? Nothing is more important than God, folks, in my eyes. And if this also is in your eyes, then you are right with me. Then you're standing on my side, Nothing is more important than God. Because with God, you're going to live forever. And not with Bruce Lee. You understand? So, Bruce Lee is not so important. Definitely not more important than God. God is the most important spirit and person in my life. And no one can ever change this. And that is the beginning, and that's also the end for me. You understand? God is the beginning, and God will be my end. You understand? If God wanted that way. So, I'm honest. I don't know what will happen with me, in the way of God. If God will take me or not, I don't know. But I always standing for God. And this is what God knows. It's also what I know. It's also what you know. Because I told you many times about my Father God. And it's very real, what I say. So I do have a conspiracy theory, you understand? But yeah, I still think two things. He did kill himself by training too hard, because he did train 10 hours a day, folks, without stopping, you know. He did ask too much of his body. And he did train with shock therapy things. So that is what most people do not know. He did have the money for it, so he let build a machine, you know. He can go with his feet in, with his knees, with his fingers, and with his fist, and with his head. And this is how crazy the man did really train. And to buy a thing like that, yeah, folks, it is a special machine need to be made. And it's very risky to train with that kind of things. But that's what Bruce Lee did do. He did like it that way. He was the most hardest trainer I will ever know. And I never can train like he do. You know, he was crazy. This is how he did die. But when God did come, everything changed. I did hear about the Illuminati, and then I thought about the stars. And the stars are under the Illuminati, or in the Illuminati, or in the skull and bones, or with the devil, and all that kind of things. Yeah, skull and bones, and Illuminati, and Rothschild, and all that kind of, you know, they belong to a very dark history. And then I talk about long time ago, you know, and it's the historical truth, because these guys did everything prepare for now, you understand? And that's why you see everything happening, and that there are fires, and people go demonstrate on the streets, and fighting, and looting, and all that kind of things, making war, and becoming crazy, and fighting with the police, or fighting with Christians, and all that kind of things. Or groups who are with Trump, and groups who are with Joe Biden or something, you know, or this other witch, how you call that witch? And she need to be locked up, by the way. Trump did promise that, it never did happen. So Trump is also a liar in my eyes, because he did say that he will lock her up directly when he did become president. He gonna lick her ass. So, and Trump also belongs to that dark matter. You understand? Dark material. So, well, folks, and these are my thoughts. But my first thoughts were, and that's the truth, he did die by his own hands. He did kill himself. He did train too hard. That's why he did that. But then God came and hear about the Illuminati and the one eye and the pyramid. All these people who are with the one eye and the pyramid, these are the people you need to watch out for. And these are also the people Bruce Lee did work with. And that's how he really did die. It's got everything to do with the pyramid and the eye. And he did not want to go into that group of people. So they did kill him. That's what I think now. But the first way of thinking was really, he did kill himself. He did train too hard, too much, too long. He did train for 10 years, folks. 10 hours. 10 hours a day. Every day. 10 hours a day for 10 years. 10 hours a day, 10 years. And he did train with machines you cannot buy. It was specially made for Bruce Lee. You understand? He did train in shock therapy. Also, if my understanding is good enough, you can find back those trainings, things he did train with. It must be somewhere, but it's a long time ago. I saw it when I was 7 or 8 years old, you know, and that's why I know Bruce Lee very well, and his life, and how he did train, and how long, and all that kind of things. I know everything about the man because I really was in love with this guy, you know. He was really something. But there are still, I think they did make videos about this also, that you can find it back. I think he did make videos about his training, how he did train, and that he did use shocks for his fingers and thumb and fist, head, knees, feet, and yeah. He was a crazy trainer. You can say he was obsessed with his sport. No one was ever so obsessed like Bruce Lee. Understand? No one was never so obsessed with the fighting sport he did do than himself. That's why also he did become the best, because he did do the things other people will not think about, you know. Training that you are shocked all the time with 220 through your body. No, folks, you don't want this, you know. He did train like that, but many people do not know. And sometimes it did go wrong, and definitely in the beginning, you know. He can put the voltage, I thought it was till 220. But in the beginning he did train with 60 voltage. Now folks, you go down by 60 voltage. But then he wanted more and more and more. And also was many times hit by this shock wave. But he did stand up and go again. And you need to be very fast, folks, to hit in that thing. And strong. And now I hear a man, he did say, yeah, I did train like Bruce Lee did. No, he could not train like Bruce Lee did, because this guy I did hear, he don't have the money, and so he don't have a machine like that. Bruce Lee did have the money, and he did buy a machine like that. It was made for him. Almost no one knows. And that was the way he did train. I know it only because I was 7 or 8 years old, and I saw how Bruce Lee did train. So folks, this is 40 years ago. Crazy training, man. Did ask everything of his body. No one never will train like Bruce Lee did. Never, folks. It's not possible. You do not have the money for it. You understand? He did get lots of shockwaves. But this, what I think now, now that God is with me, yeah, that is not that strange. You understand? That I do have now a second opinion. Or my first opinion is that Bruce Lee did die by the Illuminati. If God never did come to me, then my first take was that he did die because he did go over the top with his boy. Far, far over the top, folks. But yeah, to become strong like him, he did train his whole life. Almost. And he was born in China. And what you learn in China, the first thing is the first step of Kung Fu. If you are a Chinaman, you can say to me, yeah, you are right. The first step is the first step of Kung Fu. This is what you learn. You will learn fight. They all can fight. All these Chinese people can fight, folks. Because they are born there in that country, and that's the nature. It's the fighting nature, and it's where Bruce Lee comes from. And Bruce Lee did get the same thing. The first step was like fighting. But now I think that Bruce Lee was killed by the eye in the pyramid. These people got something to do with his death, and also with the death of this son of him, Brandon Lee. Also did die like that. Someone put a real bullet in a gun, and this got everything to do with the Illuminati, folks, for sure. So that's also how Bruce Lee did die. But he also did do a lot with his body no one ever did do. But this is not how he did die. So I say, it's the pyramid and the eye. And my Father God did warn me for this, that I need to watch good who these people are, and what they do, what they say, what they wear, what they do have on their skins, what they talk about, what they sing, with who they are, and all that kind of things. And I know very well with who they are. They are all with the devil.